when you think, you don't even seem to think it anymore. It's already in place. So when a thought is seen, it triggers a reaction of the mental condition that I'm the thinker. And then you feel like the thinker, which is the sense of self. Yeah? You feel like you're the one that's doing it. And as soon as that's in place, then you're going to have your mind's going to have tons of opinions about what happened. I shouldn't have done it. I should have done it. I omitted some great things I should have done. I committed things I should have done. And so on and so forth. It opens up the floodgates of a lot of mental minutia. Yeah? The point isn't trying to get out of that floodgate. That's called skillful means. It's to get at the point of its inception. Yeah. If that's where the freedom lies, it's not, the freedom isn't after 30 processes you finally get a little relief. It's at the point prior to all the processes. Yeah? And I truly don't believe, I have faith in mind that what we are has never left that point of inception. Actually, the prior point of all inception. I don't believe nothing can ever make us to be other than that. Yeah? It's just if you believe it, and the thing is, if you believe you're the thinker, I'm telling you, then every thought's held as yours, and they're going to have a lot of power. Yeah? You'll be sitting here suffering from your thoughts. You'll be thinking you're suffering from a thought, but someone else can have the same thought in their head, and you can actually see them, they can share it, and it has no effect on you. But then the same thought, if it's held in here as yours, it has the ability to have a huge effect on you. Is it coming from the thought? Or is it coming from the mind that's giving it the meaning it has? I would say it's coming from the mind, yeah? Obviously, if a thought had an impact, and if it was a real thing, it would have that impact on everyone. It would have its own quality, yeah? So let's say a thought moves at 30 miles per hour, and if it has 100 feet, there's going to be a certain impact. It's going to be that impact every time, yeah? Because that's its nature, that's its thingness. But it isn't a thing. It's a vehicle for the mind, the conditional mind, to facilitate this crazy little expedition it's on, which is to bond the mind to the idea of being a self. And that self is a feeling, not a thought. It's a thought wrapped with a feeling, and that feeling is a sense of self. Yeah? They don't say a thought of self. There's tons of thoughts of self. But the thoughts of self are used to facilitate the sense of self. That's where the convincing occurs. Yeah? You feel like you're the doer. You feel like you're the thinker. Yeah? You definitely feel you're the feeler. That there's something separate yet being imposed upon by the feeling. And that's you. Yeah? That's the bondage of self. It's not a bondage to self, because that would give self too much credit. That would make self a thing. Like being this chair, if I was bonded to this chair, there would be this thing and this thing, and then something would facilitate the bonding, like a pair of handcuffs, yeah? So now I'm bonded to this chair. And the logic would be, if I would be relieved of this handcuff, if someone could open up the handcuff, seeing the difference between me and the chair, I would just walk away, and I'd be freed from the bondage to that chair, yeah? And therefore, something could actually facilitate it. Somebody, like if you got a good enough spiritual locksmith, they could pick the lock and you'd be freed from the bondage to the self. But in recovery, it's described as bondage of self, which is totally different. Because there is no self to be bonded to, but there is a self that you can be bonded of, yeah? By the constant repetition, yeah, of what I call the selfing, yeah? So when the selfing has used the thoughts to facilitate that bondage, tons of thoughts are being used to bond you to this idea of being a self. Yeah? It cannot bond you to it because it isn't a thing. Yeah? You give it the sense of thingness by becoming identified with it. Yeah? What causes the identification and what reinforces it is the constant narration, the constant inner dialogue, the constant claiming of all of these activities that are truly brought to us by conscious contact. Yeah? I'm not having a feeling. Consciousness is aware of a feeling. Yeah? Then the mental process kicks in and claims it and goes, I'm having a feeling. And then it's so absurd, you'll have a feeling and you'll say, I didn't want to feel that. But you already felt it. You have absolutely no power at that point. Yeah? But you refuse, the mental condition refuses to give that ghost up. It still wants to fucking work it, but its point of reference, its point of recognition is past the point. The feeling already occurred. Now it's going, I don't want to feel that. You don't see the powerlessness of that position? Over and over and over again, all day? I didn't want to think like that, but I'm thinking like that all day. You're not fucking a damn thing, thinking a damn thing. There's just an awareness of thoughts. The mental process claims the awareness as me. I'm aware of the thoughts, and now it judges the thoughts as good and bad, shouldn't, oh, these are da-da-da-da, and it plays God. Yeah. But what juice of God is it playing with? Yours. Which we've, in a sense, freely given to it, because the heist is, we don't even start becoming conscious until after the heist. The selfing is already in place. So when people hear this message and they get a little bit of information, and they call me up like a couple of days later, and they go, oh, I've been selfing all day. Yeah? So they've been thinking about themselves, usually based on what's not happening. Yeah? Like yesterday or tomorrow. You know what I mean? The selfing just uses this moment, which is the only moment, to think about a past moment and a future moment. Because that's where it's the star. It's not the star here and now. It's the star in there and then. So look at the value system of the thought system. Where does the value lie? Not now, but in the past and the future. Yeah? Just check the system out. Check the thoughts. Every thought's drenched in time, and the drenching is usually about a past event and a future occurrence. Yeah? That's what the thoughts are doing. Why are the thoughts so busily attending those imaginary hives? What fucking honey are they making? They're producing a sweet nectar of bondage of self. Yeah. And we're drunk on it. Yes? Shit, yeah. So what happens if self, there is no long-lasting, independent, separate entity? It's just an invitation. Yeah. I'm not the doer of everything. I'm not the thinker of everything. I'm not the feeler of everything. There's nothing that's apart from the fray. There's not like something that would be great if it wasn't imposed upon by all these situations and things. That's all fucking baloney, let's say. Yeah? So let's say the sense of self isn't true. It's a produced sense, yeah? It has to use a lot of the activities of this life, thinking and feeling and seeing and hearing, and it has to claim those activities to facilitate the bondage to this idea of being the seer, the hearer, the thinker, the feeler. You know? So it uses all of this, it's like this never-ending flood of conscious experience. It uses that to facilitate this unconscious identification as being a someone, a something. Yeah? So you go to sleep. So here, the mind goes to sleep. So here you are in this moment. In this moment, there is no inherent, long-lasting, separate entity. Yeah? But what happens when the thought system thinks about you in the past? Yeah? How does it picture you in the past? When the mind thinks about 5 years ago, how are you pictured? As a body, yes? Because it couldn't think of you as a spirit. How would it say, oh, my spirit 5 years ago was so much different? Then no, the spirit's never different. It's not a form. It doesn't go through gyrations. It's definitely a whole different beast or a non-beast. So it thinks about itself, the mind, the thoughts are used to think about the idea of being Paul then, yeah? But where is that Paul that you were then remembered? It's remembered now. Yeah? While the mind is thinking about you 5 years ago, where is the remembering happening of self? Not in the 5 years in the past. That's not happening. It doesn't exist. The remembering of self is happening now. So it uses the past to remember itself so that it can feel that it's a self now by constant reflection on the past. And it uses the future to remember itself. It's not just the past, the future, the activity of the future, thinking about how I'm going to be or what calamities are going to be happening to me, let's say 3 days from now, and you know what I mean? And the only reason why your attention and interest keeps going there is because it's about you. I mean, if someone else comes over to your house and talks about all the trials and tribulations in their life about what's not happening, you'd be bored in a minute, really, unless you wanted to sleep with them or something, you know, or they have a lot of money and you hope they're going to give you some. I'll be your friend, sure. But basically, if there's no self-interest in it, you'd be bored. Yeah. So what's causing us to be so incredibly into this, it's because we believe it's about us. Yeah. So now I'm thinking, I'm going to I'm never going to be able to surf again. Let's say something like this. Whatever you want to say. Come on in. And so there I am. I'm thinking about. There's some chairs here if you like. So I'm thinking about Paul in the future. Yeah. So now I'm thinking about Paul in the future. Where is Paul being remembered? Now. Exactly. That's exactly how the bondage of self keeps getting reinforced by the thought system. Supposedly they say you have 70,000 thoughts a day arise. Yeah. Now I'm a house painter, I used to be. For me to get through a day at work, maybe I need 15 thoughts. You know? Any job I ever went to never really surprised me. There'd be walls and windows and a ceiling usually, right? So maybe I need to think about where to go to lunch or stuff like that. What are the 69,980 other thoughts doing? What are they doing? They're not looking out for my happiness, joyousness, and freedom. They seem to actually bumming me out based on something that's not happening. You know what I mean? Which is really mind-boggling. To be able to, if my mind thinks about something that's not happening, it can produce an effect where something is happening. Yeah? So something like an imaginary field can produce a crop by your thoughts, by your believing the thoughts. Isn't that mind-boggling? To me, if my thoughts go back there and they're thinking about something that's not happening, you cannot, I'd like you to bring last Saturday here. Yeah. You can't. It's impossible. And you can't, there's no hotel on last Saturday. You can't go back to last Saturday. You're not going to smell anything or taste anything or touch anything. All that can be done is thought about, and then feelings can be triggered. Yeah? But where do the thoughts and feelings be triggered? Where do they happen now? Yeah? So why would the mind be so engaged in going to these imaginary fields unless there was some kind of agenda? Yeah? And the agenda is to reinforce the idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, a thing. Yes? And the way it's facilitated, it can't get the evidence of that fact because it's not a fact now. It can get the evidence from those imaginary facts of there and then. Yeah? So what happens? Let's say last week is screwing with you, seemingly. What would be the solution to it? Just realizing it's not happening. Yeah? What more would you need to do if you realized it wasn't happening? If you try to do anything more, it would be reinforcing the false idea that it was happening. That's what it's like. It doesn't take any time to wake up out of an imaginary place. It doesn't take any time to get out of an imaginary place. Everyone's assuming they're somewhere, and that assumption is producing the false reference. Then we want to get out of that something. Why has all your attempts to get out of it truly failed in time? Because you can't get out of what you're not in. It's not because you didn't do the right thing. I would put my devotion to drugs up with any spiritual devotee in the history of spirituality. I gave everything over to it. I gave everything I could get from you over to it. I prostituted myself every day. I loved it. Everything like that for many, many years. And I'm telling you, you cannot transcend an imaginary place. It's impossible. Yeah? It failed utterly. Yeah? Why? Not because me or the drugs. You can't get out of an imaginary place. And all our lives we're always trying to get out of something we're not in, and then we're trying to get into something we can't be out of, which is the moment. We're busy trying to get into the moment, which is based on the assumption that we have this impossible quality that we can be out of the moment. You've never been out of any freaking moment you've been in. It's impossible. Yeah? If you look at surveillance cameras, you're here Saturday. I don't care how much I wasn't there, I didn't want to be there, I shouldn't have been there. You were here. Yeah? There are certain things that are indisputable. So everyone's trying to get into the moment, and they buy books about how to get into the moment, and then the next, I always use this, the next edition is how to really get into the moment, and then it's really, really get into the moment, and then extreme, turbocharged getting into the moment, all based on this insane idea that you could be out of a moment. I'm saying the solution is, I can't be out of a moment, and now I have the experience of being in the moment. Not from getting in there by my little endeavors and things or other people's little processes, but realizing I could never be out of there. Yeah? How much time did that take? No time. Yeah? And you can tell you something. You can rely on a solution that demonstrates timelessness, I'm telling you. Because that's part and parcel of the solution, if you want to call it a solution, is timelessness. It's not based on time. Yeah? It facilitates through time, it expresses through time, it manifests through time, but it is not achieved or found through time. Yeah? It's a timeless event in every event in time. Yeah? It's like a vertical insertion every step of this horizontal linear story you seem to be in. This truth is vertically insecting every one of those moments. Always available at all times with no requirement necessary to meet it, not one. You're the one who holds all the requirements. You're the one who puts on all the conditions. Yeah. We used to use this old one about knocking on heaven's door. And so let's say some stuff happens and some people start telling me about there's a heaven and, I think I know where to go to get there. And they point me to the door and I knock on the door. And it's very weird because immediately the door opened and there was God. It didn't take any time. Well, He was right at the door. And I go, can I come in? And he looks right at me and goes, Paul can't come in. So I get a little bummed out and I leave and I decide I'm going to become spiritual. I'm going to get a good resume. So instead of the black leather jackets, I get the rose, patchouli oil, I get that loving gaze, practice. And now I feel like I'm pretty good. I've fulfilled my own requirements. I think I passed the test. So I go back there and knock on the door. And it's really uncanny, but the door opens immediately and there he is again, God. And I go, can I come in? And he looks right at me and says, Paul can't come in. So now I get really fucking pissed. And I start getting loaded. I say, fuck all this shit. And I go running around. And life whacks me around and I get washed up on the shores right near him, near the door. And when I'm standing up, something happens. And I knock on the door. And it opens, and I go, can I come in? And God looks right at me and says, Paul can't come in. And I walk right in. Yeah. Steve can't come in. Mary can't come in. Any singular unit identification as a separate entity cannot enter that kingdom of heaven. Yet, what you are is a member, a full guaranteed life membership of that community of heaven. Yeah. And as soon as I walk up to the fact I wasn't Paul, then I walked right in. He was never telling me I can't come in. He was making a statement. Paul can't come in. Yeah. Well, I had to realize, hey, I'm not that Paul, and there I was. Yeah, that's what it's like. Just a change of calibration. The mind shifts a little bit, and then you know the tree by its fruits. You start traveling lighter on a broad, steady level. Doesn't mean it changes the geography of your life, but you'll travel lighter over whatever geography your life has in store for you. Illness or marriage, divorce, kids, no kids, yes? Yeah. And so what more do you want? What more do you want other than that? Yeah, it's to travel lighter. That's what I found out. As soon as I started to get that satisfaction that was available, it was amazing. The need to get liberated was totally dismissed quite quickly. Because the only thing that needs to get liberated is what I'm not. What I am doesn't need to be liberated. It's already in that freedom. Yeah? It's what I'm not needs to be liberated. And if I'm identified with that, I'm going to be seeking what I am my whole life, yet never finding it because of the way I'm looking. Yeah? Instead of like St. Francis says, what's looking is what you're looking for, and the emphasis in my life will be who's looking. And that's what's looking for, yeah? And every time someone says, well, what's looking is what you're looking for, I go, where? Because I already believe there's something in place already, the who. The who becomes the primary reference. And how can you find the center if you're playing the center? How can you find the center if you're playing the center? That's what self-centeredness is. You're claiming to be the Alpha and the Omega. You're claiming to be the center of everything. The universe revolves around you. On some level, deeper or lesser, but that's the case of self-centeredness. Yeah? How is that point that's taking itself to be the center ever going to open up and find the center? It already thinks it is the center. It's trying to find things that will give it an advantage and make it better and stuff. It's not looking for its fucking own absence. The only way it wants to know its own absence is by an experience it has, which is insane. It's impossible. You're never going to be there when you get it. When you get it, what happens is what was looking to catch it has diminished. That's when you get it, yeah? You don't get it. Every time you put up the mitt, the ball you catch isn't it. It's an idea, it's a concept of it, yeah? When the mitt doesn't go up and then you see the real game, you get it by not getting it, yeah? Because you're already it, yeah? And if you're in the program recovery is great. The steps diminish the mental condition, which is obscuring that fact, yeah? It diminishes the condition sufficiently that you can't avoid the obviousness of what you are. It starts shining through, yeah? All the facade. What more? That's all, that's it. That's the beginning and end point. Yeah? And then the mind is now entertaining. It's sort of like here in the Course in Miracles, they talk about you and I give everything all the meaning it has. Yeah? That's sort of what this apparatus is doing all day. Yeah? Your perceptions are skewed, first of all. We're not seeing clearly. So we perceive objects as real and we don't perceive the space as being a reality. Yeah, we just don't even know what all this is. But we're very attuned to seeing things all day, yeah? Because we're a thing. Just like if you see a bird, a species of bird, they're looking out for their own members of their species, yeah? So if you believe you're a thing, you're going to be looking for things, yes? To make that thing better. No-thingness will be the only time you think of no-thingness as a thing. Yeah? So you want to maybe get a little bit of no-thingness to leaven the being of thing. Yeah? So like taking a spirituality and trying to graft it onto a body. It doesn't fucking work. You know what I mean? But the highest form of a maintenance of a spiritual condition is to be a spiritual condition. When you recognize that, that's the highest form of maintenance. Yeah? Because every moment, no matter what you're thinking, or no matter what you're feeling, is the demonstration of your nature. Yeah? It's what's looking, it's not who's looking. That's all this invitation is meant to do, is meant to prompt your head to entertain its own nature. See, if I'm giving everything the meaning it has, and let's say, and I can give something a meaning, let's say one day I'm feeling pretty good and I'm not giving it much of a meaning yet. The next day I'm seemingly not feeling good, it's a big meaning, I make it a big problem. The next day I'm feeling good again, and then it's not a problem. What was it? What is it? Is it a problem or isn't it a problem? It's appeared to be both. It appeared one day to be a problem, next day it's not a problem. It's an amazing chameleon in a way. It can appear, but the fact is, this experience here is all based on this very simple statement, or a very simple word called seemingly. It's appearing to be true or false to us. Yeah. We play a huge role here. Everything is appearing to be, not everything is true or false, that couldn't be so. It's appearing to be true or false. That's the highest it can reach, is an appearance. Yeah? So how can an appearance make itself seem real? How can an appearance make itself seem real? The only way that can happen is if what's real takes it to be so. Yeah? You're fucking the reality. You're the reality right now. The only way something can seem to be so real is if it's reality given it that freaking meaning. How can an illusion get any sense of reality because its own nature, it's illusory? Yeah? Where does it come up with the feeling of being real? It doesn't. You inject that feeling of being real into it from the reality. Yeah? We are that which isn't touched here. We are that everything appears to be so or not so to. How can something appear to be so and not so? That can only happen if there's only that so. That so which I am. Yes? Moving through this apparatus, things can appear to be so to it, and then appear not to be so to it. It can be so extreme, we hear a lot about it in recovery, where people had the worst thing ever happen to them in their lives. They built this huge temple around that idea. It's been used for all their excuses, all their failed marriages, and all this shit. Then they get into recovery, the mind changes. Yeah. And now they look back and they see that was the best thing that ever happened to me. What more demonstration do you want? such an extreme one, how can that not catch your attention to see the fallacy of reality other than what you give it? The only reality is never going to be felt, seen, or heard, or tasted, or touched. It's what's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching. What's conceiving cannot be conceived of. What's seeing cannot be seen. What's hearing cannot be heard. What's tasting cannot be tasted. That's the reality. Yeah? That reality is lending itself to everything else, making it seem real. Yeah? Based on the conditions and the circumstances on the mind in this certain moment in time. Yeah. So you can see heaven at 11 in the morning, and you can be in hell by 2 in the afternoon. That's how extreme it can be. Seriously. Yeah. But what's giving all those punches? So if you follow the punch, it goes to you. You know what I mean? You're just seeing this, and so you assume it's all, everything's fucking with me. The thoughts are fucking with me. No one's fucking with you. Yeah? The thoughts of you, a mental condition in the head is using the thoughts to facilitate the punch. It's using the feeling to facilitate the punch. Yeah? It's using all the perceptions you're having to facilitate a story, to make you seem so. Yeah.
Like that saying, it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Yeah, exactly. Right now. This is the point.
It's okay, though, that this is all happening.
It's fine. The problem is it gets juicy if it's happening to you. That's where you may want a little leavening. I like the leavening. See, my head can make things really fucking real. I went into exquisite hells, emotionally and mentally, through my drug addiction. And because of the drugs, I was up for 10 days. That was a long stay in hell. Really fucking long. And the amazing thing is I went back. As soon as I had a that day's sleep, I went back and signed up for 10 more days. Thinking that if I could pull my mind to a certain point of tautness, it would snap and I'd get out of this place. It was a fucking fatal mistake almost.
On the other hand, it can be a beautiful engagement.
Oh, it's wonderful. You enjoy it. Instead of, here it is, it's simple. Either life is happening or it's happening to you. Those are the two basic interpretations. The format here, you're going to live in interpretation. That's part of this format. It's not like you're not going to have any preferences. That's baloney. But what you're going to do is you're going to travel lighter over the circumstances of the geography of this little action figure. Whatever's going to happen, facilitating happening through this or to this or with this, you're going to travel lighter with it. Yeah? And for me, I really fucking enjoy that. And also, you'll be freed from the slavery of there and then. Yeah? Once the thoughts aren't held as yours, I'll tell you something. They don't have the ability to go that far back. They start going, and there's no interest as a fuel, and it just swells. Remember, I know when I got sober, one of my problems was a charm, really, when I was out there. I used charm to do a lot of stuff, yeah? So I had a real strong feeling. I can't be doing that acting out anymore with the charm. But I tried it. I went to clubs the first year or two sobriety, and I'd be at the bar, and there was the babe, and I start doing it, and then the words would drop. It's like halfway there, and I had to pick up sorry and walk away because it wasn't okay anymore. Yeah, it just wasn't there. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's sort of what it's like. You lose interest in there and then, and of course, it doesn't mean you lose interest because there's an infinite amount of interest and attention. You lose interest in something. Yeah, you don't lose interest. The interest gets taken away from there. Not taken away. It just leaves there, and find out where it goes. It will go here. And instead of bonding you as being the glue to bond you to there and then, it will enrich your moment. This moment, it will be an enriching quality. Yeah. It's incredible. And then the people that came in, the energy, yeah? This fucking message, it disturbs a lot of minds. It disturbs a lot of stuff, man, without doing anything, with no apparent threat. Oh, I've seen unbelievable stuff occur when we used to do the dry dock. Fucking unbelievable events. Just what, man, this is it's either an incredibly lovely tickle or very irritating. Yeah, it can be really a threat. Yeah, to conditional mind, I'd say. Really. Because people couldn't not like me that much in such a quest, like 10 seconds. I don't have that power, I don't think, to cause people to really dislike me that quickly. It may take a little while, because it's not me. It's something happens. This is a powerful mojo in a way. Yeah, let it in and let's see how it cooks. And that's it. See, the point is here in mental security, the mental condition, not the mind condition, the mental condition. It's different, yeah? That mental condition, its security is to know. It wants to neuter everything. When something comes, I know that. It doesn't want to be fucking surprised, yeah? It will actually make its bed in misery as long as it's familiar. It just wants a sense of security, control, yeah? Now in Zen, one of the highest forms of mind is I don't know, yeah? In that state of I don't know, you've given up that devotion to that mental knowledge, of I know. And now you're in a position of finding out. And what happens is it relegates you into having things revealed. Sometimes through you, sometimes to you, yeah? But now you've given up, I fucking know everything, and framing everything, and neuter everything before you actually even meet it, to I don't know. And so no thing especially, introduces itself through you, to you, through others, situations, and this and that. And it's incredibly revelatory. That knowledge has value because it's only there. It only spends any time in activity when it's needed. The true space, the true value in knowledge is spaciousness. You're not filled up with all this wealth of information, but you do have the information you need to know when you need to know. Yeah? It's beautiful. And so basically, your space becomes spacious. You're not a storage unit anymore of a story about there and then. You're actually a living, let's say, transit point. Things are happening, consciousness is experiencing, feeling, tasting, touching. There's stimuli coming in, going out. You're now, instead of getting on all those fucking trains of self-will that are either locals or expresses to hell usually, you're now at the station. You realize all this stuff is just coming and going. But what is the space they're all coming and going through? That's what I am. I am that space, and you are that space. Yeah. Like if you look out this window, maybe if it wasn't raining, more birds would fly by. But after a while, maybe you see about 12 different birds fly by. And then your head may get the hit. What hasn't moved since all those birds flew through is the space, yeah? The space didn't leave. The space you were seeing when you were looking out was still there. All these things just have transit through them, but they don't affect the space. When the bird left, the space it was in didn't go. Yeah? The space is there. That's what my mind is like. It's like that empty space that's allowing all of this to happen. Yeah? Every last shred of it. And whatever's happening ultimately cannot leave even a henna tattoo on that space. It's totally free from any effect from what's appearing in it. Yeah? It doesn't get touched. No dirt. It's like the sky. If you look at the sky and there's a 4th of July event and there's all those explosions, the sky never gets ripped off. A plane never calls the tower saying, I ran into a big chunk of sky. When it rains, it doesn't get the sky wet, it lands on the earth. When a bird shits, it doesn't sully the sky, it lands on your car. Yes? It goes like this. That's what mind is like. It's empty and clear and vast. Yeah? And yet there's a lot of activity going through it. What our conditional mind is interested in is seeing all those ping pong balls go flying and not recognizing the space they're flying in. Yeah?
So is there no such thing as engagement, really?
There's tons of engagement, but you're not engaged. You're just an access point for engagement. It's like it's the dancer and the dance width is the same. The dancer, the dance, and the dance width are the same. Yeah. It's a giant event going on here. That in a way, deep down, nothing ever happens. Tons of things happen, but in fact, nothing ever happens. So here, you hear the sound of this rain, yes? Has a muffling effect. Beautiful. Yeah? You just lay on there. Just lay like it's like a vertical bed. You can just lay it against that sound. And then it's so easy to lose any center point with sound. It's not like vision. Vision is usually from one point to another point, but sound is so easy to lose any sense of being a reference point. Yeah, you can lose yourself in running water or whatever. Yeah, because obviously you're not located behind a cheekbone. You know what I mean? I'm not limited to this. It's just inside this body.
So it's just consciousness that's engaging.
Yes, it's consciousness. Well, that's the facilitator. I think I have a difference of consciousness and awareness. I think awareness is what's aware of the consciousness. Consciousness is an activity here. Yeah, it's conscious of. Yes, this is the facilitator of this event. But then there's an awareness of that, which I think is our original face, like in Zen. But there's no face, obviously. You can, in recovery, it's pretty much inferred by the word pause, P-A-U-S-E. There's a pause sometimes. And if you ever looked at your linear story, if you could look at your story of, let's say, 50 years, 70 years, and there was a genie and they were going to give you 3 wishes, a very wise wish would have been 3 pauses, maybe. Yeah? And then you look at a situation like that time I was going to, and then just drop a pause in there, because in that eternal, timeless moment, it changes everything, or it can change. That's its potential, yes? Your whole life will look different, just with maybe 3 pauses in it. Can you imagine if you were resting there? Can you imagine if you called that your home, or you called that you, the pause, instead of the mental process that takes afterwards? Yeah? Instead of starting at square 3, which is the feeling of being a self, you were at the only square, which is square 0. Every other square just appears to be a square to that square. That's the whole point. Doesn't mean there's no fun or trepidation in all the squares. That's what makes the game. It's beautiful, this place, in a lot of ways. Yeah? It's a dream. Like the Course in Miracles says, you and I are the dreamer of the dream. We forgot that we're dreaming, and we've given everything we've dreamt the power to affect us. It's a pretty good description of most of our conditions during the day. Yeah? We're the dreaming of the dream, you and I. We forgot that we're the dreaming of the dream, and we've given everything we're dreaming the power to affect us. But it can only affect us as this, and that comes about through being identified as this. Yeah, that's what makes the dreamt tiger scare the living shit out of me. Yeah, I can't see it as a dreamt tiger because I'm looking at it from a dreamt object, thinking I'm real. Therefore, I lend that reality to the dreamt tiger. I don't care how many books. If I'm in a close area with a tiger and I know some of its qualities, I don't care how many books about how to cohabitate a small space with a tiger. I'm not going to have an ease and comfort because I'm taking that freaking tiger to be real. What's the solution? I can't get out. You can't get the tiger out of there. What would happen if I'm not the dreamt object that's afraid of the tiger? Maybe I see the tiger as dreamt. Does it have any ability to influence or affect me anymore? No. Yes. No. I'm not lending it a reality. Yeah? And it gets its reality by this getting real. When this is given reality, everything else that appears seems to be real. It's just the way it freaking works, yeah? And you may want to say, I don't want that to be real, and you want to maybe choose and pick, but I want to be real. It doesn't work that way. Everything changes when this changes. You try to change everything, it may not change this, but when this changes, everything changes. Yeah? Get the cart before get the horse before the cart. Or don't, But like Ramana Maharshi, a great master, said, you and Sonny, you and I, our heads are in the tiger's mouth already. It's a done deal. Yeah? Your mind's gotten interested in this possibility, and it's going to entertain it. Yeah? And it's going to bear fruit from that entertainment. And it can be like it says in the Course, don't be too worried. You may not be rocketed into another dimension, but what will happen is you'll dream yourself out of this dream. Yeah? And as you're dreaming yourself out of the dream, just perchance the dream's going to get happier. Yeah? Fucking cool. I'd sign up for that deal. And I have to admit, looking at the time for the last few years, it's been very authentically so. That's what's been happening. Yeah.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, is how to like de-hardwire that stuff. You know, because you get so hardwired into thinking this way. I mean, like you said, nothing ever you bring with you. You know, it's like that. Certain fears, maybe I've just become so dedicated to that being a reality. You know, I don't know how to hardwire it. You know, unhardwire it. You know, through the steps. I guess it's working slowly. You know, but I mean, sometimes.
Well, with this idea, I don't know. Maybe I can't see sources and causes, but with this it's just an entertaining ideas, like, and a repetition. See, I've never missed a meeting I've given now for years. I hear more satsang than most people because I'm initiating. Seriously. Thousands and thousands of times. Because I heard something, maybe this is why, but I heard something in the Course of Miracles that was very emphasized, which was the way you best learn something is to teach it. Yeah? So here's this possibility, and I've come to believe repetition, just like it's a poison in this world, can be used as an antidote. That is what the mind's intention is, yeah? And repetition is very helpful. You allow it in there, and then just let go of the results, like we've learned in AA. Let the mind entertain what comes up. And for me, like when it happened with me in the context of being in AA, it was about my 11th year of being in recovery. And I was actually teaching like 4th step workshops about the inventory and everything in AA. And then I got I was introduced to this possibility, and my mind entertained it, and something occurred. And when I read this chapter, I always read from, every week I did a class called How It Works. It says this statement. This had such a profound thing, man. This statement, it talks about being convinced to believe. That means to believe with certainty, one of the definitions. It says, being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. So he separates the two. Yeah? See, my take on AA, recovery, it isn't obsession with self. I think that's what the mind does that's identified as a self. It obsesses to reinforce the identification. I think the real root of the problem is identification as a self. It's not, the verb isn't identification, and then the noun's a self. The whole verb is identification as a self. There is no self. Yeah? But it's entertaining that there is. Yes? So I believe that's the root of the problem. So it says, all right, being convinced that self manifested in various ways, yeah? Self-pity, look at the word, go to the dictionary and look up self. There'll be self, and there's a hyphen, and there's about 90 descriptive adjectives, and about 70 of them are on what you would call a negative side. There's self-love and this, but then there's self-immolation, self-destruction, self-pity. It's pretty nasty, you know what I mean? And then you look up spirit, there's not just one word, spirit, you know. But selfing, it's manifesting in a lot of different ways, yeah? And it's through its manifestation, a defeat occurs, yeah? A defeat occurs. Yeah. So here, self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. If we're convinced of that, let's look, and we're going to look at its common manifestations, meaning self. And then the next paragraph in AA is resentment. So everyone I've worked with in my life in recovery, they don't see a resentment as a resentment. They see it as my resentment. Yeah. To me, the my represents the act of identification. So let's say there's a thought, a certain parasitical mental process called selfing. Yeah. Now it's almost like a helmet, and you've had this helmet on, and the helmet is projecting its own characteristics through you. Yeah. Yet the voice that you seem to have keeps claiming all of its expressions as yours. I would say that's identification as something that you're not, yeah? Yeah. Now, how are you going to get free from something you're identified as? You're going to try to get free as it, you know? You may try to get free for it, but you're not going to get free from it, because you're going to get caught in this simple axiom: self can't get out of self. Yeah. So you may see some aspects of selfing that you don't like, and you may think that you're seeing them as a self, which is just another part of selfing. There is no self. Yeah? Then that self wants to get out of the selfing. But the selfing is producing it. So it's going to self itself out of self, which is being in self. And you're not going to get out. Never, never, never fucking no way. No way. No way. You don't need 800 examples. Save yourself some freaking time. See an example once or twice, and you've seen the whole principle and theme of selfing. You don't need to have tons of research on it. Just fucking get it. Let your mind entertain the possibility. I'm not that, and that's what happened with me. Well, as soon as I realized I'm not that, what possibility did I immediately go right to? I can be free of it. Where before I was saddled through the identification, I was trying to be free as it, for it, and it was fucking it was like trying to mix water and oil. It didn't fucking work. Yeah. And I was blaming me or the practices. There was nothing wrong with the practices or me. They're failed. It's simple. You can't get out of an imaginary place. You know?
So when you realized you could be free of it, what happened
then? Then I started, quote unquote, being free of it. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. And actually, the fact is, the freedom had already occurred through the grace. Now it was getting a way of understanding the freedom. But the freedom already occurred. And then by reading what I used to read, it imbued its own recognition into the words. And then I could build a little platform to express in a certain way to people. Yeah? Not to take this as the message. The message is what is you. It's what here's the message, is the point of the message. The message has no other point than to deliver what's already in place. In other words, there's no product sold here because you're the product.
If then, did you travel lighter?
Yes. Of course. And so it's like Jesus says, you'll know the tree by its fruits. A good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bring forth good fruit. You'll know it by its fruits. You can't know the tree, yeah? But you'll know it by its fruits. So you see by its demonstrations in your life and other lives and just life itself, you see the signature of what you weren't seeing before in everything. Yeah. And I don't think it's separate from us. We are that. We are that. Which it's fingerprints, it's non-fingerprints is in everything here. Yeah. Yeah. Now you're in the inside joke, and now you have a sense of presence. Not that vacuous absent of being hyper-present about what you are, because that's like a hyper-presence about an absence, which only produces anxiety and fucking fear. I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm going to lose what I have all fucking day. Yeah. What happens if you make an absent present? Look at your days. That's exactly what happens. When it seemed to be absent, then the presence is sensed. Yeah. Now you're centered instead of self-centered. Instead of living in a vacuum, you're now more like in a fan. It's expressing. It's using what's here already and it's blowing it out. It's expressing. Yeah? And then it watches all of its expressions and it recognizes itself. Yeah? Produces an immunity to all this fucking shit that mind's getting up to. Why would you want to be occupied by last Wednesday when this is the only Saturday you're going to fucking be in? You know? How much is that a life that it's been co-opted and a life has been replaced with an interpretation? And you know what? We begrudgingly fucking accepted it or tolerated it in a weird way. Because we can't entertain being free of what we take ourselves to be. So we're just trying to make the best of a bad situation when we could just walk right away from it. But see, this is the trick. This is the trick. Yeah? I talk about the tumor. So let's say I have a big freaking tumor on the side of my body. And I'm taking it to be me. So what do I have to do? I have to fit my life around it. So I've got to get a tailor, my own tailor, and make all my shirts opening and jackets. And I've got some expensive French shirts and Italian jackets and this and that. And it's nice armrest while I'm driving and things like that, you know. And I've met some other people with tumors located in similar places. We rub tumors together. It's a little connection there like Eskimos. And so someone comes in and says, hey, bro, you can have that removed today. You know, it's just you visit. You won't even have to stay overnight. And you would think you'd rush right to the idea, but now your mind goes, hey, I got all those fucking shirts. I got that Italian jacket all tailored for this tumor. No, I don't want to hear that. I'd like to polish it, make it a little better looking, maybe, but no, the idea of it being, no. You see? The mind has gotten invested with its little plaything. And now it wants to be here. It wants to be here to experience its own absence, which is an impossibility. My girlfriend is here. My lovely girlfriend. It's her birthday. She watches me. I don't go into a sanctimonious closet to meditate for 5 hours. I don't wake up and have to prepare anything. I have my get ready, get set, go room at the house before we come here? No. I'm usually late because we're fucking hanging around. There's no preparation for what's already so. There's just give up the ghost. Let it inform you what you are instead of you informing it what it's going to be. Let it inform you what you are. And it will inform you you're not that. And of course, then the next sleep is I'm that. Yes, yeah. But if you try to look at I'm that from what you're not, it's never going to happen. But when this gets, let's say, negated or seen to be not so, then what's so is freaking obvious. Yeah? It just dawns on you. And it becomes a living ingredient in your day. Not a fucking thing you got to study or like that. It becomes the basis of your whole life, which is its rightful place. And then you are having your childhood again. You have those aspects that you seem to be long gone, the wonder and awe and the spontaneity. Just like when me and Mike went the other day. We had no idea where we were going. We stopped at a couple of beaches. Mike's visiting San Diego. And then had no plan B, just like drive. And then, let's go down south, go to this beach. And we stopped at one, and we just went to another one, and then we hit the jackpot. But it wasn't on the agenda when you looked at, all right, 12 and 1, we got to eat. If we don't find any surf by 11:30, we'll give up No, we had no plan. The day unfolded, and we were given, and it was totally weird. Everywhere wasn't breaking, yet this one beach broke, and it was fucking great. And we had a great, great day. But none of it was freaking planned. None of it was, and if it didn't work that way, we were going to have a great day anyway. Yeah. So that's the way to go. How can that be seen as a practice? To me, that's like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I wasn't thinking about meditation or retreats, or I wasn't reading, Ramana Maharshi, because my mind hadn't thought I could be anywhere else. I was here because I hadn't entertained those insane impossibilities. I could be somewhere else. Yeah, time hadn't gotten strong enough yet in my life, so I wasn't worrying about next week because I had no idea of next week. Yeah, but what happens is this system, this mental process grows in strength, and then it sucks out interest and attention up because it takes on ourself to be us. Yeah. It provides an idea of us that then our whole life starts revolving around. And yet, we can't seem to see that what suddenly becomes absent when that becomes the center of our life. Wonder and awe, spontaneity, fret and concern become live-in, mates, housemates. And yet we on, and more intolerability gets to be tolerated. Because we can't entertain being free of it because we're identified as it. Once you see it as a foreign installment, find out what happens. It's going to lose its influence over you because it doesn't have any influence other than yours. It doesn't have any influence other than the influence you've given it. Yeah? So, yes. Very sobering idea. And that's all I've been doing. Entertaining it. It's not like I had 1 hour of entertaining it. Every moment, my mind, it has nothing to do. This is like a representative of the sense of Paul body. My mind is busy entertaining that space. That's what it does all day. And then things happen and this and that, but all the while, a large chunk of its interest and attention is resting in that. And it's found that's the true resting point. Yeah. How do I know? Because rest has abounded from there. Yeah. I've shown up for things that if I was supposed to show up for, I would have fucking took off. Like when my girlfriend had cancer. I didn't show up for that, but there was a showing up for it. Yeah. Because what would impel me to fucking flip out and run away, I wasn't identified with anymore. So that's the only reason why it happened. And so now, when it's appropriate time to show up, you show up. It has nothing to do with you agreeing or not agreeing. It's just what's going on. Because something has become the dominant influence, and it's not based on a mental condition. Yeah. And it seems to recognize what's appropriate and what isn't, and it lives by that. Simple. Yeah. You see, blue is blue and red is red. I didn't mull over about leaving Deb or I shouldn't. I just fucking showed up. I heard the news and say, hey, we'll get through this together. Yeah. Just like when we go to weddings in my family. I don't go there for me. I know when my sisters, my nieces and nephews see me, they see their mother and fathers who have passed away, my brothers. That's all. I play a role. We go there because it makes them so happy because I remind them of their mother or their father because I look like my brother and sister. That's all. Just like a service. It's great. Before, when I was thinking about me, fuck, I don't want to go to a fucking wedding. No fucking way. Too much past history, you know. I was the black sheep. I was the junkie, the junkie. But no, now I show up and it's amazing how many of them have changed. It really is. These are just minor little examples over and over again. Yeah. I can't show up. This place overwhelms me. That's why I got loaded so fucking much. I couldn't handle this place for a day. I was pissed that every pants had two legs, you get on one and the other. And it just blew me out. I was always, why? Why do I have to do this? That's why I never held a job. I'd wake up and I go, why do I need to go to a job? I don't. Therefore, I ended up in a place to live, a drug and alcohol place for 2 years. So they civilized me to fucking wake up and go and do what I was supposed to do. I was uncivilized, running around junkie. And, man, it's insane. How could that have changed so dramatically? Because it wasn't so to begin with, truly. Yeah, I wasn't a junkie and not a recovered person. I'm neither of them. Yeah, mind, based on certain conditions, expressed itself that way. Now the conditions have changed, it's expressing itself another way. What doesn't change is the move to express. Yeah, it has a drive to express here. This is called manifestation. This is mind. When you look at a plant, it usually doesn't have one flower, it has 800 flowers, Everything's just fucking booming. Everything is just manifesting. That's sort of an aspect of mind. Yeah? Yeah, it's cool. All right, well, that's it. Yeah, you're welcome. Any questions? No?